Welcome, scholars, to lesson 3.3, function notation. So we're going to be using function notation to evaluate and interpret functions. The interpreting and analyzing will be more so the next lesson. But in this lesson, we're just going to learn what function notation is and how we evaluate our functions. So let's fill in our notes. So a linear function, can be written in the form y equals mx plus b. By naming a linear function f, you can also write the function using function notation. Function notation is f of x equals mx plus b, or we could say function of x. The notation f of x is another name for y. If f is a function and x is in its domain, then f of x represents the output of f corresponding to the input x. You can use letters other than f to name a function, such as g or h. So again, all we need to know that about function notation is that f of x is another way to write y. So let's look at example number 1 and how we evaluate functions. And here we see substitution yet again. So if it says evaluate f of x equals negative 4x plus 7 when x is negative 2, all we're going to do is substitute negative 2 for x and see what we get for y, or f of x. So I'm going to write f of x. Let's just write the equation or the function. So f of x equals negative 4x plus 7. I'm just going to write it. Then I'm going to plug in negative 2 where I see x. So my function of x, if x is negative 2, means that I want to see what I get when I put in negative 2 for x. So my first step is just substituting. Then I'm going to go ahead and follow order of operations and simplify. So negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. And 8 plus 7 is 15. So my answer is 15. And that's it. Let's go ahead and try letter B. Evaluate g of x equals 3x minus 1 when x is 0. So again, I'm going to, wherever I see x, I'm going to put a 0. So g of 0 equals 3, and then I'm going to put in 0 for x again, minus 1. Instead of writing it, I just went ahead and just jumped straight to the substitution down here. So g of 0, I'm going to go ahead and copy everything down. And notice how I have everything, like I just do one step at a time and bring everything else down. I can't stress enough that we shouldn't be like skipping steps and kind of doing things in our head. Just write everything down. It makes it so much easier. So 3 times 0 is 0. And then 0 minus 1 is negative 1. So my function when x is 0, or my output, is going to be negative 1. All right, so that is example 1. And let's go ahead and look at example 2. So this is for h of x equals 2x minus 5. Find the value of x for which h of x is negative 7. So up here, it wanted us to evaluate or basically find the output when given the input. But in this example, we are trying to find the value of x for which h of x is negative 7, meaning we're given the output and now we have to find the input. All right, so up here, given the input, we found the output. Down here, given the output, we're looking for the input. So I'm going to go ahead and write down h of x is equal to 2x minus 5. And then this time it says h of x is negative 7. So I'm going to replace the whole h of x with negative 7 so I can find what x is. And now this is a two-step equation, right? I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. 2x's on the right. I'm going to divide both sides by 2. I'm left with x. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. So my value of x, for which h of x is negative 7, is negative 1. All right, let's go on to letter B. Again, the same thing. We are given the output and we need to find the input. So I'm going to write down the equation or the function, the equation of the function. G of x equals 6x plus 9. And then g of x is 21, so I'm going to replace the whole g of x with 21. And I solve for x. I'm going to subtract 9. 21 minus 9 gives me 12 equals 6x. Then I'm going to divide by 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So my answer is x equals 2. So just to recap one more time, for example number 1, when we evaluate the function for when x is whatever number, they're giving us the input and we're finding the output. They're giving us the x and we're finding the y. And then down here, they are giving us the y, we have to find x. They're giving us the y, we have to find x. So if you're given one of those, either the input or the output, you can always find the other if you know what the function is. So now with example number 3, we're done with equations for right now. We're just looking at graphs. So find the value of f of 6. And it's giving us a little hint that y is equal to f of x. So we're going to find the value of f of 6. This is telling us that the function of 6. So this is telling us that x is 6. If x is 6, we need to find what y is. And again, let me just kind of, let's write something down. So f of 6, right? And y is equal to f of x. So that means I'm looking for what y is when x is 6. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. I'm looking for what y is when x is 6. So let's look to see on the graph where x is 6. 6 is right here. So I look to see where the graph is going to be meeting up with 6. And it's right here. So where x is 6, my y is negative 4. So my answer is negative 4. That's it. We're just looking at the graph. We're looking at where x is 6, what is y going to be? And that would be negative 4. So let's try another one. So find the value of f of negative 3. So again, where x is negative 3, because we're a function of x, right? So x is negative 3. So let's look for negative 3 on the x-axis. And that would be lining up right here. So what is y when x is negative 3? Y is 4. So my answer is 4. And I'm just looking to see where the graph is at x is negative 3, right? If I find x, right, the x-axis, negative 3, it's right here, right? Do we see that? It's kind of I know you guys can't write on your screen, but you kind of like just follow along with your finger just to where the graph is going to meet x is negative 3. And I can see it's at this point and my y is 4. So that's all I'm doing is kind of just looking at my graph and kind of matching things up. So if you want to go ahead and pause and try this one, you can, or you can just keep watching. But find the value of f of negative 5. So again, we're looking for negative 5 on the x-axis. We're looking where the graph is going to meet there. And that would be right here, right here. So what is y? Y is negative 2. So again, we're just how we're interpreting the graphs. We're just reading the graph. We're just looking to see where my x value is, and we're going to find the y value that corresponds with that. And I believe, yep, that is it for this lesson. Again, these questions are kind of visual. You're just looking at the graph. The first ones, you're solving the equation, but these next ones, you're just looking at the graph. If you still really don't understand, just, ask me, come and find me, raise your hand, and I will go over all of these. And go ahead and just try the practice. You will do great. Good luck.